welcome to Catalyst MLM. I'm Brian Switchko, and today on the show we have Nate Leung. Nate has been in network marketing since 2001, and as an avid internet marketer, Nate now specializes in prospecting, lead generation, and social media. His passion to help people succeed in their business expands every day, and he is constantly teaching people how to use internet marketing to build network marketing businesses. He's also a coach and author of MLM recruiting scripts. Thanks so much for being on.
I appreciate it, Brian. Thanks for having me.
So I am extremely excited about this interview because we first connected over the interwebs, and then I found out that I was actually going to be in your hometown in Las Vegas for a convention, and we actually got to meet up in person before this interview, and then promptly realized that we left and parted ways and forgot to take a picture of us together, pulling a slot machine, which didn't happen, but that would have been fun. But your story is awesome, and I love the tenacity that's injected into it. But tell me a little bit about how you got started and how you found network marketing.
Yeah, actually, it was funny because back in 2001, I just graduated from college. I was kind of like doing the whole 40-40-40 thing. If you ever heard of the 40-40-40 plan, it's basically working 40 hours a week, for the next 40 years, and Uncle Sam taking 40% of your paycheck. And the thing is, for me, being a second generation Chinese, my parents came over here. They always drilled me about going to school, get good grades, stuff like that. And, I always knew that I wanted to make money, but I didn't know how I was going to do it, man. I just didn't know that, there were ways outside of getting a job on how to make money. And the thing is, for me, is that I still went to school, even though I didn't like it. I still, got good grades because, that's what my parents expected of me. But at the same time, I knew something in my gut that it wasn't what I wanted to do. So back in 2001, when I graduated from college, a good friend of mine introduced me to an opportunity just to make money. And I was like, sure, I was already broke. I was looking for something better. I was looking for a job because I was straight out of college. And he introduced me to a company. I've never even heard of the concept. All I knew was, you just bring in some people and they bring in some people and then you all make money and we all can, drive Lamborghinis and Ferraris. I was like, cool, sign me up. What do I have to do? And the thing is, when you get into network marketing, it's basically one of those things where, you're watching the opportunity, you're thinking of, who you can sign up, who that would be good for this business. And I had all these people that I thought of that would be excellent for the business. And the thing is, all of them said no. And that really crushed me. I think I did that business and I quit in like 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So, needless to say, that was my childhood friend. He went on to making 5 figures, for the next couple of years. And the thing is, I didn't get it. He didn't teach me how to do network marketing. He didn't teach me that, you need to go out there and build relationships and help people. All I knew was you go out there, you recruit, and you make money. And that's actually the thing is that you're not supposed to do. And I didn't find out until years later when I linked up with a mentor who told me that, you know what, you need to go out there, you got to serve others, you got to bring value. And that was one of the things where, I failed for the first couple of years because after that first opportunity, I went on to join, I think, 2 or 3 more, and I still didn't get it. I still didn't get why I wasn't getting the result, and that was, to me, was frustrating because, I was still doing the same thing. I was going out there pitching the opportunity, and people were still saying no. People were still avoiding my phone calls. People were still, running the other way if they saw me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of contagiousness in that because, I've heard, lots of stories of this, and a lot of them are kind of contagious from the actions of their sponsor. So the person who brings them in doesn't train them, and then you go out and you have those same failures. But then on the other side of it, you have a sponsor that brings a recruit in and they do train on that. But a lot of times they don't train on other things, like the length of time that it's actually going to take to achieve the goals that you're setting. So, you actually said, I think it was in a video, it was, finding what you need isn't so easy. But once you find it and you have that proven plan, it's much more simple to kind of follow along. So I guess what's the process that you had of asking questions? Like, how did you know then that it wasn't working and that you needed to find a new way, or did you have to look back and see that it didn't work and change the next time?
I had to completely revamp the way I approach network marketing. So what happened was when I joined my third opportunity, and that was back in 2005, and obviously I only recruited one person and probably did the business maybe about 4 or 5 months. That didn't last too long. So I kind of took a break from network marketing because I just didn't get it. Anything that had to do with the pyramid,
Yeah.
I was like, you
I
know
always
what?
do it like this. It's a bigger pyramid, especially if I
Yeah,
do
yeah,
this.
yeah. And I used to call them pyramid schemes. I used to call them, Ponzi schemes because I didn't get it. I was ignorant. Nobody taught me what network marketing was, you know what I mean? And that was the problem. That all started back when I first joined. So I went on, did some other things, and then I came across a guy that was making money in network marketing. And he's actually, a guy I respected. And that's the reason why I decided to take another look at it because he was making money. All the other people, other than my first friend that introduced me, no one else made money. They were just recruiting me and going to the home parties. I didn't know why I was there. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I didn't get the dynamics on how to build. I didn't even understand it. That's why I didn't take it seriously as a business. So from 2005 to 2010, I decided to take another look at network marketing, and this is when things started to really take off for me. I mean, I really started to understand the business. And to answer your question, Brian, going back to back then and compared to 2010,
Yeah.
it's just really the approach. I mean, the mindset, the questions that you have to ask people if they're looking for an opportunity. How can you serve them? How can you bring value to their life? You know what I mean? That's really what it boiled down to. Once I understood that, then things started to take off. I had to realize that it wasn't about me anymore because before I was making it all about me, all about me. I'm making all the money. I'm going to be a millionaire, all that stuff. But the thing is, network marketing wasn't intended for that. It wasn't
Yeah.
created. The business model wasn't created in that regard. So that's why when I started to really just start from scratch, anything that I learned prior, just throw away and then start from scratch. Be humble,
Yeah.
be coachable, teachable, trainable. And at the same time, be open to new ideas, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. If someone is already has what I want, I better copy them. I gotta
Yeah.
copy the right cat. And that's
I
the
like
thing
that.
for me is when you're copying the right person,
Hmm.
then things will start to happen. You know what I mean? So that's really what separated, my fifth stint with network marketing compared to the first.
Yeah. And so what kept drawing you back in over the course of, I mean, a decade?
Yeah, I mean, once you find network marketing, I mean, you can never leave it. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, after my third opportunity, I was like, you know what, I'm done with this. You know what I mean? I'm not doing this anymore. And somehow network marketing always comes back to my life. I don't know how it happened. It just happened.
It's a bug. It just like gets you.
And the thing is with opportunities what I've learned in the past always usually happen when you're not looking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I know when I wanted to make money and all this other stuff, I was forcing it, and the thing is that's why it wasn't working for me. So when I let the process flow
Yeah.
and when I'm also at the same time open, then that's when it starts to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I mean, there's some really big lessons to be learned there. And I kind of struggle to, I guess, step back because I mean, I had a very similar story is that, I mean, I've been doing multi-level marketing for 11 years, got started when I was very young, and it was the same thing. It was failure with a company, and then got drawn back into another company and realized everything that I screwed up the first time, and then screwed it up in a different way. And then, and it's all, now it's all internal. Like back then it was all external, blaming the company. But over
Mm-hmm.
time, and you realize that, especially for people like us who have that long learning process, it's a lot easier to
Yeah.
look back and be like, all right, that was totally my fault. I screwed the pooch on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, one of the things that you said in an article, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I guess I'll ask this question first: is
Yeah.
during that course where you kept getting drawn back in, what did the people around you have to say? Friends, family? Like, what were the objections that you probably got?
Oh man, another one, Nate? Come on, man. What about that one that you did a couple years ago? I mean, I got that a lot. So I knew that because the thing is, my one market wasn't my target market. And the
Yeah.
thing is, I kept going back to them, and they knew that I always kept doing these things, you know what I mean? These things that, are supposedly supposed to make you a millionaire. And the thing is, for me, I knew I wanted to be successful. I mean, even way before college when I was young, I knew I wanted to make money. I knew I wanted to be successful. But the missing piece was is being able to serve people because when you serve people, the money will come anyways. And that's the thing is when you look at all these entrepreneurs in the world today that are helping other people, those are the people, their passion is really all about helping people. It's not really about the money, even though it is about the money, but it's not. That makes sense. So, um, yeah. So to go back, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was the question again?
I mean, you answered it. Was the objections that
Okay,
people gave you?
okay, okay, got it.
Yeah, I mean, this was what you said in an article, which it really struck me. And I'll try and read it verbatim. It's a little lengthy, but you said much of our generation is obsessed with technology and running after money. And we get a lot of criticism from a generation of people like our parents who did any work that was available to them instead of following their hearts and doing what they loved.
Hmm.
So the question there is are our parents or the older generation, are they wrong? Or is it just a different time? Because I mean, I think that a lot of people who got started young in network marketing, they get a lot of rejection from family.
Hmm.
And why are you doing that? Just go get a job. Like, go apply yourself to a job. I
Hmm.
mean, I think I've been pitched on going to med school and law school probably 5 times. And I'm like, no. So what? I mean, what's the perspective there? I mean, do you communicate that to them, or do you find people in that generation who still struggle to understand why you put this much effort into it?
I think it has to do with ignorance, and I don't say ignorance in a bad way. I think it's because they don't know. So going back to 2001, I knew I wanted to make money and do all this other stuff. But the thing is, sometimes it takes a certain understanding to get something because the thing is that's why there's such a bad stigma about network marketing. I mean, compared to back then, I mean now since we have the internet, I mean things are improving. I mean, it's just one of those things where network marketing is now slowly gaining a good name for itself.
Yeah.
So when it goes back to like our parents' generation, I mean, the thing is, going to school, getting good grades and stuff like that, that's just a condition. In my opinion, it's a condition that people only focus on one thing. They're not open-minded to
Yeah.
other things. So when you're so focused on one thing, you don't know what's out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when you do hear about it, you'll be judgmental
Yep.
because you don't understand it.
Right. And you're closed off a lot of times
Hmm.
from understanding it. And I think there's a really great TED talk that talks about the origins of global education. And to some degree, it all originated from the industrial age. And
Hmm.
education as a whole was created to teach people how to work in factories and do repetitive
Hmm.
processes. And
Hmm.
that's what an older generation from us learned. And so a lot of them are stuck in that you go to school, you get a job, and then but that doesn't work anymore. I mean, there's plenty of people who get higher education degrees and then go work for someone for 10 years, and then they let them go and say, we're going to hire 3 newbies at a college for half the price of your salary.
Hmm.
And that's
Hmm.
just kind of the new flow. So I mean, I guess that is a 2-part question, is do you work with people that still have that kind of mindset, the older generation? And what is it like these days working with younger people that are younger than you, coming from where you came from?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, I mean, it all depends because, like, say, the older generation, I mean, obviously, they could tell you that they love their job, but they're really lying to you. In my opinion, I don't think they're being truthful, but at the same time, I think that they're only saying that is because that's all they have.
Yeah.
So if that's all they have, then they think there's nothing else out there. So
And they
it all
don't
depends.
know what resonates with their heart.
Exactly. So it all depends. So when you're having a conversation with the older generation, it all depends because I mean, not everybody cut out for network marketing. Not everybody is, you know, stuff like that. So the thing is, like I said, not everybody cut out for network marketing. So it all depends with the older generation. I'm not saying that the new generation is open-minded. It just all depends on the person. So what I usually do is, I'll ask the questions, ask how things are going, how are things at your job, and by asking those questions, you can kind of get a good idea
Yeah.
if they're looking. If they're looking, I'll say something. I'll mention it. At the same time, if they're disgruntled and they hate, waking up Monday morning, I'll tell them, hey, you know what? If I can offer you a better way of making income instead of your primary job, would you be open to the idea? And that's a question that I ask a lot with the old generation. With the newer generation, they're obviously more open-minded, but at the same time, they need to be nurtured in a sense where they need to understand how business works. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's kind of like with the older generation, they have a lot of life experiences, but at the same time, they're conditioned a certain way.
Yeah.
But with the newer people, they're open-minded. They're not conditioned to think, go out there and get a good job because obviously, they went to college and now they're struggling to
Right.
get a job. Now that's why they're open to, other possibilities.
But I think it's, I mean, a really important point to note that you have two different audiences and you have two different ways of reaching out to them. You know,
Hmm.
the older generation, the line, so to speak. I mean, the message that you're gonna use to communicate with them is gonna be different than what works for someone who's younger.
Hmm.
And so and we'll get onto like kind of how you communicate from the next step in a minute because I want to ask questions there. But
Sure.
what happened when you understood it from 2005 on when you saw, okay, I did this wrong, you know, now I'm in a new company and I understand. Granted, it's not all roses from there on, but
Hmm.
what did your growth look like? How did you grow the business?
I think for me, it was understanding the business, first of all, understanding the dynamics. And then from there, now I had to learn about people and
Yeah.
psychology because the thing is, you're talking to so many people a day, you're going to eventually get the same type of responses depending on the person. So if you understand how people think, how people see things, then you can be able to help them better and better facilitate what direction you need to take them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And yeah, and that's, I mean, it is. It's kind of funny, and I don't know how to explain it, but it's like if you ask the same question 1,000 times, you can
Hmm.
kind of batch every single answer into like one
Yeah.
of maybe what, like 5 or 10. There's only so many responses that people will come up with, and it's almost
Mhm.
verbatim. And it's, you know, because if someone responds with, you know, oh, is that one of those pyramid schemes, right? Okay,
Or
if you do it enough, okay, you're one of those people that ask that question. So this is how I respond to it. Like, oh, you know,
yeah.
like, and there's a million different responses that you can give, but if you do it enough, you practice it and it becomes second nature. And then, you know, someone once told me like, wow, you're really smart and confident. And I'm like, nope, I've just been asked that question 5,000 times. You know, like,
Yeah.
cause you're quick to answer it cause you know the answer.
Hmm.
And then it comes off as this yeah, that's a whole, I love, body language. If you practice it enough,
Hmm.
then reading it becomes second nature, and then you already know what's going to happen kind of before it happens, so it gives your conscious mind basically free space to think
Hmm.
about other things while you're already talking.
Hmm.
Just repetition.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, the objection, just real quick.
Yeah.
Kind of like it's just a pyramid objection. Well, here's that category, right? And then let's just say you have, I need to talk to my spouse. You have that
Yep.
category, and then you have, I don't have the money. Well, like you said, I mean, if you've done it over 5,000 times, when you hear the word, then you can get access to any of those
Yep.
categories and you can better facilitate those questions.
Yeah. And I love Jim Rohn's response to "I don't have the money," which is, well, that's exactly why I'm talking to you.
Yep,
You need
yep.
money. So when you're communicating with someone that's interested, I mean, beyond a prospect, like they're, I guess, more engaged than a prospect, but they
Mhm,
haven't signed up yet. I know that you use a lot of different things to kind of clarify to them and basically say, all right, this is an amazing opportunity. Check it out. You know, you see what it is, and they're all excited to go. But then you're like, now wait, and you kind of you qualify them. I mean, and I read in one of your articles, and you qualify them in different pieces, and I'll give you all five, and then have questions on each. Is that the five were success won't be overnight. You're gonna have to sacrifice. You will face
mhm,
difficulties. You will need to take a stand and believe in what you're doing, and you'll need to
mhm,
give it as much time as possible. And basically saying that, look, this is gonna. I mean, there was a basically saying that it's gonna be a long and arduous journey, but it's worth it. But it's going to be long and arduous. Are you up for it? And some people say no, and that's totally fine. But what do you do when you're asking that first question of like, are you willing to do this even though success won't be overnight? Like, how do you structure that in terms of asking?
Yeah, the reason why I ask those questions because you want to manage expectations because so
Yeah.
oftentimes when someone joins an opportunity for the first time, people, sign them up right away, and then what? And then,
You're gonna get a
you know,
boat tomorrow.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And that's the thing is for me because if you're not willing to manage your own expectations, then I'm not willing to work with you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is for me that separated myself from the 2010 Nate to the 2001 because the 2001 I wanted the whole world to join.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wanted to sign up my aunt, my grandma, my dad, my best friend, his best friend, my best friend's parents, and that was the thing is because the thing is when you learn the business, not everyone is cut out for network marketing, like I said earlier, because the thing is, it's like, okay, now I'm able to build a more sustainable business by managing the expectations, letting them know, hey, you know what, if this is your first time,
Yeah.
this is what you're going to have to go through. Because the thing is, I know you heard the quote, success is not a destination, it's a journey. And it's exactly true because the thing is, if you look at, like, say, I'll use a metaphor here, losing weight. Let's just say you have to lose 30 pounds. You can't lose 30 pounds in one day. Well, it's the same thing for network marketing. You can't make $1 million in one day.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I use a lot of metaphors when I talk to people because the thing is, not everybody will understand what you're saying. It's kind of like here's an example, and I like to use this a lot. What I usually ask people when I'm training them, this is way after the process when I'm training them, teaching them how to build the business. Where just let's just say you have person A and person B, okay, and obviously person A and person B will hear the same statement, but will take it in differently, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So
Absolutely.
So here's the statement that I usually like to use as an example is, let's just say the duck. Well, I'm going to ask you, Brian, and I'm going to
Okay.
ask you what you think based on on my statement. So if you heard this statement, Brian, and you heard the duck is ready to eat, what does that mean to you? And
It, it,
don't think
I'm
about it.
Yeah, I mean, it means I'm trying to think of a different way to respond to this, like to phrase it. Um, but the duck is hungry.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So to you, say you're person A and the duck is hungry and is ready to eat. Well, to person B, that could mean a family of 10 people and we're ready to eat a duck.
Ah, I see what you did there. I like that. See,
So
I hesitate because I was like, what the heck does a duck eat?
yeah, exactly, exactly. But person B is not thinking about what does the
Yeah.
duck eat. They're thinking about, okay, the duck is ready to eat, so I'm ready to eat a duck.
So I've had duck like once in my life, which it was delicious, but that's probably why it didn't come up to mine. And yeah,
Yeah. So
if you said
just
chicken, I totally would have been person B. Totally.
Yeah, so with that being said, I understand that not
Yeah.
everybody is going to interpret or take in the same
Yeah.
thing, even though I'm thinking a certain thing. So when you understand that and you understand how people think, then building the network marketing business or any type of business will be easier to build.
Yeah, and that's huge. I mean, managing expectations, I think, is something that most network marketers don't do, and that's, I think, where a lot of the current stigma comes from, is as people like, join my business, we're gonna be millionaires tomorrow, we're gonna have yachts and Lamborghinis and it's, it doesn't, nothing works that way except the lottery, and then all those people are broke and unhappy and owe a ton of money to IRS. But it's the same thing as you said, is you can't lose 50 pounds overnight. You have to do it sequentially, and that's, if I told someone, oh, well, you just want to, invest enough equity into honing your conversion rate so that you can increase your ROI, most people who aren't in that space wouldn't get it. But if I said you need to stick with it long enough so you can, improve your skills, it's the same thing. And so I think that that's hugely important. I love the metaphors, and I always love metaphors, and they usually get really arbitrary, which are the fun ones. But so kind of stepping to the next one is that, it's not going to be overnight, and you're going to have to sacrifice. A lot of people, get a little, I have to wake up early, and I'm going to have to talk to people. I don't like talking to people. And they let their fear kind of control them, or discomfort control them. So did you, did you ever have that within yourself, and how did you communicate it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for me, I have a different approach when it comes to doing certain things or having fear. Let's just talk about fear for a second. The way I look at fear now is that I look at fear, depression, feeling sad as too much work. Because the thing is, it's too much work. Why do I want to be depressed? Because now I have to start thinking about sad things.
Yeah.
I have to, start talking to negative people. It's just too much work. Why not just focus on what you need to do and not even worry about it? It's kind of like saying, okay, let's go back to the working out example. Some people look at working out as too much work, you know what I mean? And the way that you condition your mind is like, you think working out is too much work and not doing anything is better. Well, that's how I am with building a business. When I think of fear, it's just too much work to feel fearful or scared, you know what I mean, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's I think really difficult to do for someone who hasn't had an accomplishment yet, because when I started working out originally, when I actually started caring about my health, it was because I was recently single, and I was like, I'm gonna be a stud, and all the girls are gonna love me. That lasted for about a week because it wasn't internal. I wasn't doing it for me, and so I stopped. But then I started doing it, and I got into it, and I was like, okay, I'm working towards a 6-pack because I wanna feel good. And it didn't really hit me until I started to see the results. And this, granted, it took 2-3 months of solid workouts. But when I started to see the results, I was like, whoa, okay, like I feel amazing, like endorphins, energy, like just like being okay taking my shirt off at the beach or something like that. Vermont does have beaches. It felt amazing. So now when I look at other things, right, I have that same perspective of, oh my God, how amazing is that going to feel to go step in that house or that car, whatever it may be, or help that person. Have you been able to communicate that feeling to someone so that they see the sacrifice as worthwhile before they start, or is that completely internal and there's just no way?
It all depends. If I'm talking to somebody, while going through the questions, I got to figure out what the desires are. It all depends, because the difference between someone that says they want something and then there's a difference that someone said they want something and they'll be willing to do it, you know what I mean? And not everybody's willing to do it. Not everybody's willing to put in the work. Not everybody's willing to put in an hour, 2 hours a day making phone calls, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. It all boils down to them, because the thing is, I can meet you halfway, but if you're not willing to meet me halfway, I can't really help you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the thing is, you got to get started, because I think that, here's a good example. I'm not big on New Year's resolutions, and here's why. Because here are the number two big things that happen when people start making resolutions. Is one is losing weight, right? And then the second one is they want to make more money. Well, here's the problem: they don't plan. You know what I mean? And the thing is, they sign up for a gym. They go on the first day, which is January 1st. And then, they're wondering why they're not getting the results, because they don't properly go through the motions. See, the thing is, for me, I believe in goal setting
Mm.
and making small chunks of goals, but I also believe in you got to take the action and then
Yeah.
go back and scale up. So a good example is, let's just say, I want to lose 30 pounds in, 4 or 5 months. Let's just say that, you manage expectations, you go out there, you start working out. And the thing is, let's just say after 2 weeks, you lose your first 2 pounds. Well, great. Now you're starting to get the result.
Yeah.
Now you can go back and you can start scaling and tweaking
Yep.
whatever you need to do to lose the 3 to 4 to 5 pounds up to 30 pounds. So, when it comes to building a business, I usually tell people, well, the things you just got to go out there, you just got to go mess it up. I mean, you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to get it right the first
Yeah.
time. Even like your first phone call, you're going to probably stutter over your words. You're probably going to say the wrong things. You're probably going to tell the whole world that your product cures cancer. But the thing is, you got to take action. That's the
Yeah.
important thing. Is you have to take action, and then once you take action, you start
Yeah.
getting the momentum. Then you can go back and you can scale and start tweaking and make little changes. And that's the thing is for me, because there's no way for someone to get it right the first time. I always usually just tell people what they need to do, give them documentation,
Yep.
train them over the phone, but there's nothing I can do to help them get the result. They have to, do what I tell them to do, or
Yeah.
whatever I share with them, go out there, make it happen, then come back and say, okay, Nate, you know what? I tried this and this is not working. Well, great. Now you're taking action.
Yep.
Now you're going back and we're scaling, we're tweaking and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you also have a basis to start from, because
Hmm.
if they come back to you, then they're able to say not only this didn't work, or better yet, they can't say, well that won't work. They say, well, I
Hmm.
tried it and this happened. This was the response. They said, oh, it's a pyramid scheme and I didn't know how to answer that question, so they walked
Hmm.
away. Versus if
Hmm.
you, okay, well, that's something to learn from. Here's a few ways that you can respond to that statement. And
Hmm.
you're right. I mean, you have to take the action. And one of the books that I'm reading right now is The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, and he
Good
talks
book.
about. I love it. It's been sitting on my desk for a while, and I was just like, fine. I'm like halfway through it at this point. But he talks about compounding interest, and it's the same thing. It's like you may not lose your first 2 pounds for 2 weeks or heck 2 months. But then when it starts going and you find your groove, then you lose it all at once. Or in the case of money, you start,
Hmm.
making it all at once.
Hmm.
So when you switched your mindset from making tons of money to generating value and money will come, how did that affect your mindset? How did that affect, you talk about, walking away from fear, which is a very difficult but totally possible thing to do. How did that switch affect you?
It increased my confidence, because the bottom line is, confidence is everything. Communication is everything, right? So when I started to get the result that I was looking for, then it increased my confidence. And it's kind of like saying, the compound interest. Well, if you become confident, you can become more confident. And from there, you just pay, it's kind of like it pays you dividends, you know what I mean? Where you just, okay, great, now I feel good. Now I can do this to increase my confidence
Yeah.
into, taking it to the next level.
Yeah, and I always I joked around with a friend, and I probably didn't explain it well when I was doing it, but I was it I think Jim Carrey, yeah, Jim Carrey, Yes Man, where he had to say
Hmm.
yes to everything. And
Right.
I pretty much did that for a year. I think it was before the movie came out, and
Hmm.
I came up with the idea. And it's just like yes to everything. And I was like, my ridiculous examples. I ended up in a Zumba class with like I think it was something 40 women, most of which were under the age of 16 or over the age of 60. And it was
Hmm.
me and a friend of mine were the only two guys. And it was ridiculous. And both of us were just like, all right, that was interesting. And we're never doing it again. But we did it. And, you find the thing that makes you pull back and be uncomfortable, if it's sales calls or whatever it may be. And then you push towards it, because that's where you're most likely to fail, which means that you're most likely to learn.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
how, I mean, yeah, I mean, we've identified like how to work with the people who want to be worked with, who are open to experiencing those failures so that they can learn, because it's an opportunity. What about, and kind of moving down the list of taking a stand and saying, okay, this is a business I'm doing. And I think Ray Higdon, just kind of get you on I guess a jumping off point, is he said, I'm going to do this with or without you. I'd love to do it with you, but I'm going to do it
Mm-hmm.
anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you teach people to take that stand and have the confidence of presenting their opportunity, even when they know, okay, this person's not going to be interested. I'm just going to tell you, look, I'm doing this anyway, but I'm going to go do it over here because you're not interested.
Yeah, I mean, like I say to people all the time, I mean, who's gonna be is the person that you're prospecting your opportunity, are they gonna feed your children? Are they gonna pay your bills?
Yeah.
And the answer is no. I mean, really, you're responsible for your own success. I mean, you're really responsible for making your life happen the way you want it. You're
Yeah.
responsible for designing your own life, you know what I mean? And the thing is, so many people are so scared of going out there and trying to make the first dollar online, you know what I mean? Because oftentimes they try to compare themselves to the guru. And the thing is, a lot of us, we compare ourselves to the person we want to be.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we know the story, but I mean, I'm sorry, we know, we see the glory, right? We
Yeah.
see the success, but we don't know the story to get to the glory, if that makes sense.
Love that.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's the same thing. I mean, Ray Higdon's a good example. I mean, look at him. He started from nothing, and look at him now. I mean, he's been in network marketing as long as you and I have, over at least a decade, off and on, and somehow network marketing still finds him, right? I mean,
Right.
it got bit by the network marketing bug, right?
Stupid
And
real
that's
estate bug over contaminated.
yeah, so that was really my take on it. I mean, it's really just,
Yeah, and so a lot of people that I interview, because I interview successful people, say the same
hmm
thing that you said, which is that you need to add value to other people and the money will come. And I know for a lot of people that are just starting out and they can't really connect with that, right? Speaking of story, they're like,
hmm
I don't know. They don't, maybe they do it. Maybe they're like, all right, I guess I could see that, but they don't really connect with it because it just doesn't seem possible. It doesn't seem like, this is back when I was you in 2001, that mindset. I
hmm
was dating a girl who constantly was like, if you put good energy out there, then it'll come back to you. And I was like, that's crap. I was like, if I help a little old lady across the street, I'm not winning the lottery. She's like, that's not how it works. And,
Yeah.
and it took me probably a year of her constantly just being like, do it. And I finally did. And I was like, whoa, like I can see, see the sun. I can see clear. All right. But so how has that affected you? How did that change affect you and affect your success when you started committing on working with other people? What were the results from that? Like, what can someone else say? All right, all right, it worked for Nate. It'll work for me.
Well, really, I mean, it all comes down to managing the expectations. I mean, I think that when I tell them about my failures, how I didn't have success until about my fifth company, then it becomes real. Because the thing is, people don't care about, about you. They care about what you can do for them. So how I relate that is really just letting them know, hey, you know what? When I first started out in 2001, I didn't know what I was doing. I recruited, very little people. I was ignorant on fire. I burned a lot of relationships, just like you. If the person, penetrated through the warm market, I know what it feels like. But this is what I did. Because the thing is, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Well, it's the same thing. If something doesn't work, then you got to change it. And that's the thing is when I'm telling my story and I'm training people, the thing is I don't really teach the how to because you really know how to do the how to, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
Like the thing is you hear, all the time and Gary Vaynerchuk made a great example. It's like, even though you don't have six pack abs, you know how to get six pack abs, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? You know how to talk to people. The thing is for me is when I tell them the stories and I tell them about what I used to do and what I do now, it's easy for people to relate to.
Mm-hmm. And how and you, I mean, in your most recent company, you went into that and you applied everything that you had learned, and
hmm
you had and I forget the numbers, but you had a pretty, I guess aggressive is the best way to do it. Like you were just, all right, I get this, I know this. All right, I'm gonna add value to people. I'm gonna connect with people. I'm gonna clarify people's expectations. And you recruited a whole team very
hmm
quickly and
hmm
trained them very quickly. But
hmm
what were and remind me again of like the actual numbers of the growth.
Yeah, like say my first couple of months, I was able to recruit 80 people personally sponsored right off the bat.
Yeah, and I know people that I think they recruited like 70 people over the course of 5 years, and they have 50,000 people in their downline. And you
Mm-hmm.
did 80 in that period of time. Like it's, yeah, or you said 60. Wait, 60 or 80?
80,
80,
80.
80, yeah. So it's even more than they did in 5 years. And it's powerful. And then you work with those people and you still continue to give them value.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I have two questions that I always ask everyone, and take your time with them, because the first one's a little bit easier, but the second one is more difficult. So who or what was the catalyst for your success?
Who or what was my catalyst? Well, I would say my mentor in 2010 was basically the catalyst for my success. I mean, like I said, I mean, I struggled for so many years. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I was ignorant. So the catalyst for me had to be my mentor that I had in 2010 that really just kind of showed me how to take the bull by the horns, you know, and really just go out there and build it. And the thing is, he pushed me in a lot of ways that I've never been pushed before. And you need that, you know what I mean? And if you want something bad enough, you have to be open to the idea of being pushed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you want something bad enough, you gotta step out of your comfort zone. I know it's cliche to say, but it's really true because the thing is, nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna fall into your lap if you just hope that things are gonna happen. That's why, you know, hope doesn't work for me. And that's the thing is, taking action is always the cure for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that answer. And how did you connect with your sponsor? Or not your sponsor, I'm sorry, your mentor.
Oh yeah, I mean I've known him for quite some time. The thing is, for him, he's been a successful business person.
Mm.
He's kind of similar to me in a lot of ways about network marketing, but he didn't struggle as much as I did. And the reason why I say that is because he had a pretty good influence among his peers,
Mhm.
so he was able to get it right. I mean, let's see, when he was mentoring me, this was his second company. I mean, he just blew it out of the water.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I've known him for quite some time, and you know, he just told me about an opportunity. I was at the time open to the idea,
Yeah.
and it just took off from there.
That's awesome. And all
Hmm.
right, my last question here's, well, actually second to last question is who from history, if they were alive today, would be killing it with value generated marketing, and why?
It would probably be Jim Rohn. I mean, just what he's taught in the past. I mean, even like his stuff back then is relevant today as it's going to be relevant, you know, when our, you know, 50 years from now. So the thing is, Jim Rome has so much value and so much, you know, I mean, he just all about giving back. And the thing is, it always, I mean, on a daily basis, one way or another, we always have Jim Rohn in our conversations about, you know, what he said and what he taught and, you know, what value he gave, and it always goes back to him.
Yeah, and I think how to grow a network marketing business, I'll link it below,
Hmm.
is like the Jim Rohn gateway drug,
Hmm.
because you listen to that. It's like an hour-long audio series, and that was the first thing that I ever heard from him, and it was just from then on, it was like him, and just you just listen over and over again, and it's just always applicable, and he's funny too. It's that mix of
Yeah.
entertainment and education and inspiration, like all in one. And
Yeah.
oh god, I miss him. That was on my goal that I didn't hit too far, was I wanted to meet him, and then he passed away, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah. Something
Yeah.
like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I gotta meet people before they pass away. So yeah. So what's an action item that someone can do if they're in the process that you were in between 2001 and
Mm.
2005? What's something that they can do to just kind of throw down the gauntlet for themselves and say, all right, enough is enough. I'm going to change what I'm doing, find a mentor, and take next steps.
Yeah, just make a decision, make a choice that, hey, I'm gonna do this
Mhm.
and I'm gonna stick with it and I'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. Because the thing is, the first, usually what happens is it's always making a decision. Once you make a decision, everything will follow. And that's the thing is, when you make a decision, everything else will start to follow. I'm not gonna say it's perfect, but things will start to happen provided that you're open to it.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much. And everything that we talked about, all the links are going to be below, as well as to your website, YouTube channel, which has some awesome content, and all of the stuff that we talked about. But thank you so much for coming on. I look forward to having you on again soon.
Thank you, Brian.